The day my husband married his pregnant childhood sweetheart, I stood at the back of the church clutching the hand of our 5-year-old daughter and the DNA test proving the child wasn't his. As he recited his vows, my phone vibrated with the notification I'd been waiting for. $2.7 million had just landed in my offshore account. I hadn't stolen his money. I'd earned it by keeping his darkest secret for 7 years. And now, as I let our daughter out into the sunlight, I had just 24 hours before he discovered we were gone, along with the evidence that could destroy everything he'd built. The Chateau Lumière sparkled like a diamond against the night sky. Through its gleaming windows, I could see elegantly dressed guests mingling, champagne flutes catching the light from crystal chandeliers. My 35th birthday celebration, arranged entirely by my husband Ethan, was in full swing. I smoothed down my emerald dress one last time before entering. The fabric had cost more than my first car, but tonight I needed the armor of perfection. Something had been off with Ethan for months and I'd finally pieced together why. Her name was Celeste. There she is. The birthday girl. My best friend Mia rushed forward, camera ready. Behind her dazzling smile, I caught the concern in her eyes. She knows something. You look stunning, she whispered, hugging me tightly. Too tightly. Is he here yet? I asked, maintaining my smile as other guests approached. At the bar with her. Mia's lips barely moved. I nodded once, accepting congratulations from colleagues and friends while scanning the room. Then I saw them. Ethan's tall frame bent slightly toward a woman with copper hair cascading down her back. Celeste Chin, the architectural photographer who'd been working with my husband's development company for the past year. Ethan's laugh, a sound that had become rare in our home, echoed across the room. His hand rested casually on the small of her back, fingers splayed possessively against her black dress. Mrs. Foster. Happy birthday. Mr. Yamamoto, our most important client, approached with his wife. Such a beautiful celebration. Your husband has excellent taste. Thank you. My voice remained steady even as I watched Ethan whisper something in Celeste's ear. I'm so glad you could come. 20 minutes of small talk later, I still hadn't spoken to my husband. My cheeks ached from smiling as I navigated the room, accepting birthday wishes while observing Ethan and Celeste from my peripheral vision. My wedding ring felt suddenly heavy, the 3-carat diamond catching the light with each gesture of my hand. The waiter approached with a silver tray. Champagne, madam? I took a flute, the cool glass steadying my trembling fingers. On the opposite side of the room, Ethan finally noticed me and raised his glass in acknowledgement. No move to come greet me. No rush to explain why his colleague was wearing the diamond bracelet I'd seen in his desk drawer last week. The gift I'd assumed was for me. The room quieted as Ethan tapped his glass with a silver spoon. My heart accelerated. This was it. The moment when he would toast his wife on her birthday, publicly reaffirming our 12-year marriage despite whatever midlife crisis had led him to Celeste's bed. If I could have everyone's attention, Ethan's confident voice filled the room. His eyes, those deep blue eyes that had once looked at me with such adoration, now skimmed over me without pausing. I'd like to make a toast to someone very special. The silence felt tangible as everyone turned expectantly. I straightened my shoulders, ready to respond graciously despite everything. To Celeste, he continued, raising his glass toward her. The woman who has transformed not only our newest development project but my entire perspective on what's possible. Her vision and passion are unmatched, and today, he paused, his eyes locked with hers, we signed the contract that will change everything. The crowd murmured appreciatively, unaware of the true significance passing between them. Someone near me whispered, "Isn't it his wife's birthday?" Celeste stepped forward, radiant in her triumph. Thank you, Ethan. This partnership means everything to me. Partnership. The word hung in the air like poison. And of course, Ethan added almost as an afterthought, happy birthday to my brilliant wife Valerie. Another year of success. Not love. Not devotion. Success. Under the table I slowly twisted my wedding ring, the diamond cutting slightly into my palm as I removed it. The sensation was almost pleasurable, physical pain distracting from the emotional hemorrhage. When Ethan turned back to Celeste, I calmly placed my ring next to my untouched cake. Then I stood, smoothed my dress and walked unhurriedly toward the exit. Val, where are you going? Mia whispered as I passed. I forgot something in the car, I replied, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. Outside, the night air felt clean after the suffocating politeness of the party. I didn't look back as I gave the valet my ticket. I wouldn't give Ethan or anyone else the satisfaction of seeing me break. As my car purred to life, I caught a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror. For the first time all evening, I allowed my perfect smile to fade. "Happy birthday to me," I whispered, pulling away from the glittering chateau and the shattered remains of my marriage. Rain began to fall as I navigated the winding roads away from Chateau Lumiere, each drop on the windshield blurring the headlights of oncoming traffic. Fitting weather for a funeral, because that's what this was. The death of a marriage I'd spent 12 years building. My phone vibrated relentlessly in my purse. Mia most likely. Not Ethan, he wouldn't have noticed my absence yet, too busy basking in Celeste's adoration. I switched the phone to silent without looking at it. At the first red light, I caught my reflection again. The woman staring back at me was a stranger. Perfectly coiffed hair, expertly applied makeup, eyes hollow with shock. I'd spent so long maintaining this flawless exterior that I barely recognized the betrayed woman beneath it. I had options. I could drive to my sister's house in Connecticut, check into a hotel, or return to our penthouse and wait for the inevitable confrontation. None of those felt right. This moment demanded something different. The traffic light turned green and I made my decision. I turned left instead of right, heading toward the ocean instead of the city. 3 months ago, I'd found the first evidence that something was wrong. A dinner reservation confirmation for 2 at Eloise, the type of intimate French bistro you don't take business associates to. When confronted, Ethan had an explanation ready, wooing a potential Japanese investor who appreciated privacy. I believed him because I wanted to. 2 months ago, I noticed the late-night texts that made him smile in a way he no longer smiled at me. Work pressure, he claimed. This development is make or break for the company. 1 month ago I found the receipt for the diamond bracelet. Wait and see, he'd said with a wink when I casually mentioned it. Your birthday's coming up. Tonight I'd seen that bracelet on Celeste's wrist. I pulled into the parking lot of the Dunes, a luxury oceanfront development that Ethan's company had completed last year. Using the key fob I still had from the final inspection tour, I accessed the underground garage and parked in a visitor spot. Unit 12B had been the model apartment. Now it stood furnished but empty, awaiting a buyer willing to pay $8 million for unobstructed Atlantic views. No one would look for me here. The apartment was eerily perfect, staged with tasteful furniture, artwork positioned at precise angles, fresh flowers in crystal vases. A showplace, not a home. Rather like my marriage. I kicked off my stilettos in the marble foyer and padded barefoot to the floor-to-ceiling windows. Below, massive waves crashed against the shoreline, illuminated by moonlight breaking through the clouds. The storm was intensifying, matching the turbulence inside me. My phone vibrated again. This time I looked. 27 missed calls and texts. Some from Mia but most from Ethan. The most recent. Where are you? Everyone's asking. Not, I'm worried, or, are you okay? But concern about appearances. How perfectly on brand. I typed a response, deleted it, typed again, deleted again. No words seemed adequate. Finally I simply sent, you know why I left. Don't contact me tonight. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then you're overreacting. Come back now. We can talk later. I laughed out loud in the empty apartment. Overreacting. As if walking out quietly was somehow more dramatic than publicly humiliating your spouse on their birthday. Enjoy your evening with Celeste. The partnership looks promising. 3 dots again. Then nothing. He was calculating his response just as he calculated everything. I stripped off my emerald dress, leaving it in a pool of expensive fabric on the floor. In the master bathroom I scrubbed away the makeup, the perfume, the persona of the supportive, stunning wife of Ethan Foster, real estate wunderkind. Wrapped in a plush robe I found in the closet, I returned to the living room and opened the hidden panel beside the fireplace. A security feature I'd insisted on when reviewing the plans. Inside was a safe intended for future homeowners. No one but me knew I'd had this particular safe installed early, coded with a combination that was meaningful only to me. The date I'd first suspected Ethan was cheating. Inside were 3 items. A passport in my maiden name, a prepaid phone, and a USB drive containing financial records I'd quietly gathered over the past year. Ethan wasn't just betraying me emotionally. I'd found discrepancies in the company books that suggested something far more sinister. I wasn't leaving empty-handed. On the prepaid phone, I sent a text to the only number programmed into it. Nightingale initiated. Meeting tomorrow as planned. The response came seconds later. Confirmed. Stay safe. As I stared out at the raging ocean, a strange calm settled over me. For the first time in years, I wasn't playing a role or maintaining a facade. The painful clarity of betrayal had stripped away everything but the essential truth. I was finally free. My wedding finger felt naked without its ring, but the sensation wasn't unpleasant. Just unfamiliar. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the turbulent water below. I pressed my palm against the cool glass and made myself a promise. By morning, Valerie Foster would cease to exist. Sleep refused to come. At 3 a.m, I stood in the kitchen of the model apartment, drinking herbal tea and scrolling through the files on the USB drive. Balance sheets, wire transfers, and email correspondences that together told a disturbing story, one I hadn't fully processed until now. Ethan Foster, celebrated developer and my soon-to-be ex-husband, was laundering money for the Takeda Group, a Japanese conglomerate with ties to organized crime. The make-or-break development he'd been working on wasn't just about luxury properties. It was about cleaning dirty money through inflated construction costs and falsified investor reports. And my signature was on half the documents. As the chief financial officer of Foster Development for 7 years, I'd signed countless papers that Ethan had placed in front of me. Just routine financing docs, Val, he'd say with that charming smile. Trust me, I've checked everything. I had trusted him. That was my first mistake. My second was ignoring the inconsistencies I'd noticed last year. Shell companies appearing as vendors, invoices for services never rendered, cost reports that didn't match actual expenditures. I'd questioned Ethan once, and his explanation seemed reasonable at the time. Complex tax structures designed to maximize profits for our foreign investors. But 3 months ago, when I found that dinner reservation, something broke inside me. The wife in me was hurt, but the CFO was awakened. I began digging, quietly copying files, following money trails. What I discovered went far beyond an affair. The prepaid phone buzzed with a text. You awake? I typed back, yes. Reviewing files. It's worse than we thought. New information came in tonight. Can you meet earlier? I calculated the risks. 6 a.m. The pier at Wilson's Point. Too exposed. The boathouse at Oakwood Park. 5:30 a.m. I agreed, then deleted the conversation. Federal agents didn't take chances, and neither would I. Special Agent Diana Mercer had approached me 6 weeks ago, after their financial crimes unit had flagged unusual patterns in Foster Development's international wire transfers. They needed an insider, someone with access who could help them untangle the complex web of transactions. I agreed to help, not out of vengeance but out of self-preservation. If Ethan went down, I didn't want to go with him. A sudden crash of thunder made me jump, splashing tea onto the pristine countertop. As I wiped it up, my regular phone lit up with a call. Then again. It was 3:17 a.m. The party must have finally ended. Against my better judgment, I answered. Val. Thank God. His voice was slurred, either from alcohol or exhaustion. Where are you? I've been worried sick. Have you? My tone was calm, detached. That's surprising considering how concerned you were about me earlier this evening. Look, I know how it looked, but it wasn't. Don't. The single word cut through his excuses. I saw the bracelet on her wrist, Ethan. The one you bought for my birthday. Pause. Then, I can explain that. I'm sure you can explain everything. The bracelet. The late nights. The texts. The dinner at Eloise. I let that sink in. But can you explain the Takeda Group transfers? The shell companies? The Cayman accounts? Silence. Then his voice hardened. What have you been doing, Valerie? My job. The one you convinced me to take when you said we should keep the company in the family. I've been reviewing our finances, Ethan. Thoroughly. Where are you? The question was sharp now, threatening. Somewhere safe. Which is more than I can say for you. You need to come home. No. We need to talk about this. About how you've been using my signature to approve illegal transactions. Or about how you've been sleeping with Celeste while setting me up as the fall person if things went south. Another stretch of silence. When he spoke again, his voice was eerily controlled. You don't understand what you're involved in. These people aren't to be messed with. For your own safety, tell me where you are. A chill ran down my spine. Not concern for my well-being but a threat. Goodbye, Ethan. Val, wait. I ended the call and immediately powered off the phone. My hands were shaking as I placed it on the counter. This wasn't just about an affair anymore. This was dangerous. I moved to the window, scanning the parking lot 3 stories below. No unfamiliar vehicles had appeared. Yet, the safe room, another feature I'd insisted on for the luxury units, was hidden behind a built-in bookcase in the master bedroom closet. Inside were emergency supplies, a separate ventilation system, and reinforced walls. I gathered the USB drive, the prepaid phone, and my passport, then retreated to the safe room. As the bookcase slid closed behind me, sealing me in, I calculated my next moves carefully. 5 hours until I met Agent Mercer. 10 hours until the FBI would have enough to move on Ethan and the Takeda Group. 24 hours until I could disappear with the new identity they'd promised me in exchange for my testimony. I just had to survive until then. I sank onto the small cot in the corner of the safe room, finally allowing the magnitude of my situation to hit me. My birthday had begun with me as the perfect wife of a successful developer. It would end with me as a federal witness against a money launderer. Life had a twisted sense of humor sometimes. The harsh chirp of the prepaid phone jolted me awake. I dozed off in the safe room, slumped against the wall. The digital clock read 4:47 a.m. Change of plans. Compromised. Do not go to boathouse. My pulse quickened. What happened? Agent Cho under surveillance. Stay where you are. New contact coming. I stared at the message. Agent Mercer wouldn't send someone I didn't know. This felt wrong. Verification code? I typed. No response. I switched off the phone, suddenly alert to every sound in the building. The storm had subsided, leaving an eerie quiet broken only by the distant hum of the HVAC system. If someone had compromised the FBI operation, I couldn't trust anyone. A soft thud from somewhere in the apartment made me freeze. Then another. Footsteps. Someone was inside. I pressed my ear against the safe room door. The bookcase should conceal the entrance completely, but the room wasn't soundproof. I could hear drawers opening, closets being checked. Valerie. A woman's voice. Familiar but not Agent Mercer's. My blood ran cold. Celeste. Valerie, if you're here, please answer me. I'm alone, I swear. I remained silent, my mind racing. How had she found me? What did she want? I know about the safe room, she called. The bookcase in the master closet. Finn doesn't know I know. Please, I need to talk to you. My finger hovered over the emergency release. Could be a trap. But if Ethan knew about the safe room, he wouldn't have sent Celeste to talk. He would have just forced his way in. 5 minutes, I said through the intercom system. Leave any bags or devices on the bed where I can see them. Stand in the center of the bedroom with your hands visible. I watched through the hidden camera as Celeste placed her purse on the bed and stepped back, hands raised slightly. She wore jeans and a sweatshirt, a far cry from the elegant black dress of earlier. Her copper hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. I pressed the release and the bookcase slid open. I emerged with the only weapon I had, a heavy flashlight, held firmly at my side. How did you find me? I demanded. Celeste's eyes were red-rimmed, her face pale. I've been to all the properties. This was the last one left. Why? Because Ethan's looking for you and he's not alone. She hugged herself. The Takeda representatives were at the party. After you left, they had a private meeting with Ethan. I wasn't supposed to hear, but... She swallowed hard. They're worried you have evidence. They've given him until noon to find you. I kept my expression neutral. And you're helping him? No. Her voice broke. I'm trying to stop him. I laughed bitterly. That's rich, coming from his mistress. I'm not his mistress. She looked away. I'm undercover DA. The flashlight nearly slipped from my hand. What? Special Agent Celeste Chin, Drug Enforcement Administration. We've been tracking the Takeda Group for 2 years. They're using real estate developments to launder money from their North American drug operations. My mind whirled. Prove it. She slowly reached toward her back pocket. Hey, I nodded, keeping the flashlight ready. She withdrew a slim leather wallet and flipped it open to reveal a federal badge and ID. Why would the DA send an agent to pose as a photographer? I asked, still skeptical. Because we needed someone who could document the properties without raising suspicion. I have a background in architectural photography. It was my cover before joining the DA. It made a twisted kind of sense. Does Ethan know? No. He thinks I'm just a photographer who's falling for him. It's given me access to places and meetings I wouldn't have had otherwise. The bracelet. A flush spread across her cheeks. A gift to maintain my cover. I had to accept it. I studied her face, looking for deception. Why are you telling me this now? Because our operations are colliding and it's dangerous. She took a tentative step forward. My handler contacted me after the party. They've just learned the FBI has an informant in Foster Development. That's you, isn't it? I neither confirmed nor denied it. The FBI doesn't know about our operation and we didn't know about theirs. She ran a hand through her hair. It's a jurisdictional nightmare and it's putting you at risk. And now we need to get you to safety. The Takeda Group has people watching all transportation hubs. They've frozen the company accounts. Ethan's desperate. He knows if he doesn't deliver you, he's finished. The prepaid phone buzzed in my pocket. I checked it while keeping Celeste in my peripheral vision. Confirmed DA operation. Agent Chin is cleared. Coordinate extraction. Mercer. I exhaled slowly, lowering the flashlight. So what's the plan? Celeste's shoulders relaxed slightly. We have a boat waiting at the marina behind this development. It'll take you to a Coast Guard cutter offshore. From there, you'll be transported to a secure location until both agencies can coordinate their operations. And my testimony? Still vital. But now you'll be testifying in a joint DA-FBI case. I weighed my options. Working with Celeste felt wrong after seeing her with Ethan all these months. But if she was telling the truth, she might be my only way out. When do we leave? I asked. Now. We have about 30 minutes before sunrise and we need the darkness for cover. I retreated to the safe room to gather my evidence and belongings, my mind still processing this new reality. The woman I'd thought was sleeping with my husband was actually investigating him. Life's twisted sense of humor had just delivered another punchline. We slipped out through the service entrance, dawn's first light barely touching the eastern horizon. Celeste moved with practiced efficiency, checking corners and sightlines before motioning me forward. I followed her lead, clutching my small bag of evidence and essentials. Stay low, she whispered as we crossed the landscaped grounds toward the private beach access. Security cameras cover most areas, but there's a blind spot along this path. The morning air was cool and damp, heavy with salt and the lingering scent of rain. In the distance I could make out the silhouettes of boats bobbing in the marina. Our destination. Did you ever actually take photos? I asked, unable to contain my curiosity despite our precarious situation. Celeste glanced back with the ghost of a smile. Every single one in your husband's portfolio. I'm actually quite good. And the partnership contract he toasted last night? Fake. It gives the DA access to Takeda's financial records through a shell company we created. She paused at a junction between two hedgerows. Ethan thinks it's a legitimate investment deal that will save his company. We reached the wooden boardwalk that led to the beach. The marina lay a quarter-mile down the shoreline, its docks extending into the still dark water. There, Celeste pointed to a sleek black speedboat at the farthest slip. Our transportation. Just as we stepped onto the sand, headlights swept across the property behind us. Two black SUVs pulled into the circular driveway of the dunes. Down. Celeste hissed, pulling me behind a dune. 4 men exited the vehicles. Even from this distance I recognized Ethan's tall figure directing the others. They moved with purpose toward the main entrance. They found us, I whispered. We still have time. They'll check the apartment first. Celeste tugged at my arm. We need to move. Now. We abandoned stealth for speed, running along the wet sand where our footprints would quickly wash away with the incoming tide. My lungs burned and my bare feet ached, but fear pushed me forward. Halfway to the marina, a shout echoed behind us. I risked a glance back. 2 figures had emerged onto the beach and spotted us. Keep going, Celeste urged, pulling a small handgun from beneath her sweatshirt. I'll cover you. The marina loomed closer. 50 yards. 40. I could see a man waiting in the speedboat, engine already running. 30 yards. The crack of a gunshot sent me diving to the sand. Celeste returned fire, the sharp reports of her weapon cutting through the morning air. Go, she yelled, crouching behind a wooden piling. Get to the boat. I scrambled to my feet and sprinted the final distance. The man in the boat, young with a serious expression, reached out to help me aboard. Agent Ramirez, he said simply. Get down. I ducked behind the console as more shots rang out. Through the windshield, I could see Celeste moving in a crouch between pilings, steadily retreating toward us while keeping our pursuers at bay. 20 feet from the boat, she made a break for it, running in a zigzag pattern as bullets kicked up sand around her. She leapt aboard, and Agent Ramirez immediately gunned the engine, sending us surging away from the dock. Stay down. Celeste shouted over the roar of the engine. More shots followed us, one pinging off the metal frame inches from my head. Ramirez executed a sharp turn, putting distance between us and the shore. A brilliant flash of light blinded me momentarily, a signal flare fired high into the dawn sky. They're calling for backup, Ramirez said grimly. We need to reach the cutter before they can scramble boats. I peered over the console. The shoreline was receding, but I could make out more vehicles arriving at the marina. Among them a familiar silver Porsche, Ethan's car. How did they find us so quickly? I asked. Celeste, checking her weapon, looked grim. I don't know. Either they got lucky or there's a leak, Ramirez finished. The waters of the Atlantic opened before us, gray-blue and choppy. Ramirez pushed the speedboat to its limits, the hull slamming against waves as we raced toward the horizon. In the distance I could make out the silhouette of a larger vessel, the Coast Guard cutter, our salvation. My prepaid phone buzzed. A text from Agent Mercer. Mole identified in D. Trust no one but Chin. Destroy this phone. I showed the message to Celeste, whose face hardened. Who's your handler at DA? I asked her. Assistant Director Lawson, she replied, eyes narrowing. Why? Just making sure. I dropped the phone overboard, watching it disappear into the churning wake. Behind us, 2 speedboats had launched from the marina and were giving chase. Ramirez noticed them too, pushing our boat even faster. We're not going to outrun them, he said tersely. Not all the way to the cutter. Celeste turned to me. The evidence, everything you collected. Do you have digital backups? I nodded. Cloud storage accessible with a password only I know. Good. She took a deep breath, then turned to Ramirez. Change of plans. Head for Smuggler's Cove. He looked startled. That's not the extraction point. It's our only chance. She checked her ammunition. The Narrows will slow them down, give us time to reach the fishing village. We can disappear in the crowd, find another way out. Ramirez hesitated, then nodded sharply, changing course. The speedboat banked hard, heading toward a rocky outcropping that jutted into the ocean. I gripped the seat as we bounced over increasingly rough waters. The sun was fully up now, illuminating the faces of my unlikely allies, both focused, determined. And behind us, closing the gap with every passing minute, were the men who wanted me silenced. My 35th birthday was turning out to be quite memorable after all. Smuggler's Cove lived up to its name, a narrow inlet surrounded by jagged rocks that had sheltered pirates and rum runners for centuries. Ramirez skillfully navigated the treacherous passage, while I watched our pursuers hesitate at the entrance. They're calling for local support, Celeste said, binoculars trained on the larger boats. We have maybe 15 minutes before they coordinate with ground units. The cove opened into a small, protected harbor where weathered fishing boats bobbed alongside weekend pleasure craft. A quaint village clung to the rocky hillside, colorful buildings that in better circumstances would have been picturesque. There, Ramirez pointed to a dilapidated boathouse at the far end of the harbor. My contact will meet us there. We docked quickly and I followed the agents up a creaking wooden ramp. My bare feet were blistered and cut from the beach run, leaving small bloody prints on the weathered planks. The boathouse was dim and smelled of fish and diesel. An elderly man with sun-leathered skin nodded to Ramirez, then disappeared through a side door. Change of clothes, Celeste said, tossing me a canvas bag. Hurry. Inside were jeans, a faded blue sweatshirt, sneakers, and a baseball cap. I changed quickly, stuffing my evidence into the new bag provided. The plan? I asked, pulling my hair into a ponytail and tucking it through the back of the cap. 2 cars are waiting, Ramirez explained. Decoy heads north to rendezvous with FBI extraction team. We take the second vehicle inland to a safe house. Celeste handed me a new phone. Secure line, untraceable. Use it only for emergencies. Something in her tone made me look up sharply. You're not coming with me. She shook her head. I can't abandon my cover yet. The DA operation is too important. But if there's a mole, then I'm the best person to identify them. Her eyes were hard with determination. I've worked this case for 2 years. I'm not walking away now. The old man returned, whispering urgently to Ramirez, whose expression darkened. We've got company. Local police, 2 cruisers just entered the village. Ethan's friends at the department, I guessed. He'd cultivated relationships with law enforcement throughout the county. Expensive golf outings, complimentary stays at luxury properties, consulting fees for security advice. Time for the diversion, Celeste said. Ramirez nodded grimly. I'll take the decoy car. Make it convincing. The implications hit me. No, they'll be looking for me. It's too dangerous. It's my job, he replied simply. Agent Chin gets you to the safe house. I lead them north. Before I could protest further, sirens wailed in the distance. The old man hurried us through a back door that opened onto a narrow alley between buildings. Good luck, Ramirez said, heading in the opposite direction. I watched him go with a sick feeling in my stomach. Another person risking their life because of my husband's crimes. Celeste guided me through a maze of alleyways, avoiding the main street where police would be searching. Stay close, she murmured. And remember, you're just a tourist if anyone asks. We emerged near a small parking lot behind a cafe. A nondescript brown sedan waited with keys in the ignition. Just as we reached the car, my new phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Don't trust Chen. Meet me at the lighthouse. I stared at the message, my mind racing. Ethan? Or someone trying to trick me? Celeste slid into the driver's seat, not noticing my hesitation. Get in. We don't have much time. I climbed in beside her, tucking the phone into my pocket without mentioning the message. Something felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. What's our destination? I asked as we pulled onto a quiet back road that wound away from the village. Safe house about 2 hours inland. Old hunting cabin completely off-grid. She checked the rearview mirror. We should be clear once we reach the highway. A police cruiser roared past us in the opposite direction, lights flashing. Heading north, following Ramirez. He'll be okay, Celeste said, noticing my concern. Ramirez is one of our best. I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. Why would Ethan text me directly? He'd know I wouldn't trust him. Unless. Tell me about Assistant Director Lawson, I said casually. Celeste's hands tightened slightly on the steering wheel. What about him? How long have you worked with him? 3 years. He recruited me from field operations. She glanced at me. Why the sudden interest? Just trying to understand who's who in all this. She seemed to accept this, returning her attention to the road. We drove in silence for several minutes, climbing into forested hills that offered glimpses of the ocean behind us. I could see the lighthouse in the distance, a white tower perched on the highest cliff overlooking the cove. The perfect vantage point to monitor all approaches. My phone buzzed again. She's working with Takeda. Proof in her left jacket pocket. Hurry. A cold sensation spread through my chest. I glanced at Celeste's jacket, slightly bulkier on the left side. You know what I don't understand? I said, keeping my voice casual. How you knew about the safe room. Ethan had those installed after you started your assignment. She didn't answer immediately. I told you I'm thorough. I review all the architectural plans. Those plans weren't in the official filings. Ethan kept them separate for security reasons. I watched her profile carefully. Only he and I knew about them. And now you. The car slowed slightly. Celeste's expression remained neutral, but a muscle in her jaw twitched. Valerie, she said softly, I need you to trust me right now. Like I trusted my husband? Her right hand moved slightly toward her side. Toward her weapon. I tensed, calculating my options. We were on a deserted road with forest on both sides. The lighthouse stood about a half-mile away, accessible by a turnoff we'd just passed. Trust no one, Agent Mercer had warned. But who was the real mole? Celeste or Ethan? The DA or the FBI? The supposed betrayer or the proven one? I had mere seconds to decide who was deceiving me, and who would keep me alive. Pull over, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I need some air. Celeste's eyes narrowed, but she eased the car onto the gravel shoulder. We don't have time for breaks, Valerie. Just 1 minute. I reached for the door handle, but she caught my wrist. What did Ethan tell you? She asked quietly. My pulse jumped. What makes you think Ethan contacted me? Because you've been checking your phone and asking strange questions ever since we left the harbor. Her grip tightened. I'm not your enemy. Prove it. I nodded toward her jacket. What's in your left pocket? Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, then calculation. Slowly she released my wrist and reached into her pocket with 2 fingers. She withdrew a folded document and placed it on the console between us. See for yourself. I unfolded the paper, keeping one eye on Celeste. It was a DEA operation authorization, signed by Assistant Director Lawson, with my name highlighted as a person of interest with potential criminal exposure. You were investigating me? The betrayal stung even among so many others. Initially, she admitted. Until we realized you were being set up. Ethan has been laundering money for years, but your signature appears on the most incriminating documents. My mind raced, connecting dots. The fall person. Exactly. Your husband maintained a squeaky clean public profile while building a paper trail that would implicate you if things went south. She leaned back, giving me space. That's why I approached you at the party, to warn you. Then you disappeared. But the toast was genuine from my side. We really did sign a legitimate contract that gives us access to Takeda's records. A hint of pride crossed her face. It's the breakthrough we've been waiting for. The phone in my pocket buzzed again. I pulled it out, reading the message while keeping Celeste in my peripheral vision. Last chance. Lighthouse. Proof she killed Ramirez. Is that him? Celeste asked. I nodded, deciding to test her. He says you killed Ramirez. If she was guilty, this accusation would provoke a reaction. Instead, she looked genuinely confused, then concerned. Ramirez is in the decoy car heading north. She pulled out her own phone, dialed quickly. Status check on Ramirez? Her face paled as she listened. When? Understood. She ended the call, her expression grim. The decoy car was found abandoned 10 minutes ago. No sign of Ramirez. Is he? Unknown. She started the engine. But we need to move. Now. Wait. I pointed to the lighthouse road. Ethan says he has proof about you. What if Ramirez is there? That's exactly what he wants you to think. Celeste's voice was urgent. Valerie, listen to me. Your husband is desperate. The Takeda Group has given him an ultimatum. Deliver you and the evidence by noon, or take the fall for everything. He's not trying to help you, he's hunting you. It made sense. Too much sense. But I'd been deceived by experts for months, years, and couldn't afford another mistake. One way to settle this, I said. Call Agent Mercer. Put her on speaker. Celeste hesitated. We're not supposed to make direct contact except in emergencies. This qualifies. I held her gaze. Unless there's a reason you don't want me to speak with her. After a moment, Celeste nodded and dialed. The phone rang 3 times before a clipped female voice answered. Chin. This is unexpected. Agent Mercer, I have Valerie Foster with me. She needs confirmation that I'm legitimate. Pause. Mrs. Foster, this is Special Agent Diana Mercer, FBI Financial Crimes. Agent Chin is operating under Joint Task Force authorization as of 0300 hours today. You should continue to her safe house as planned. What about Ramirez? I asked. We lost contact with him 10 minutes ago. His tracking device went offline near Smuggler's Cove. Her voice tightened. We have teams searching, but you need to focus on your own safety now. I exhaled slowly. Thank you, Agent Mercer. After the call ended, Celeste looked at me expectantly. Satisfied. Before I could answer, a black SUV appeared around the bend, speeding toward us. Down. Celeste shoved me below the dashboard while simultaneously throwing the car into gear. We lurched forward as bullets shattered the rear window. She drove with one hand while drawing her weapon with the other. We can't outrun them on these roads. The lighthouse loomed on the cliff to our right, isolated, defensible with clear sight lines in all directions. A tactical advantage but also potentially a trap. The turnoff, I said, pointing ahead. We can make it before they catch up. Celeste made the split-second decision, wrenching the wheel sharply. Our tires skidded on the gravel road that wound up toward the lighthouse. If Ethan's waiting for us there, she began, then at least we'll have high ground. I gripped the dashboard as we bounced over the rough terrain. And I'll finally get some answers. The SUV followed, gaining on us as the road narrowed and steepened. Celeste pushed our sedan to its limits, the engine whining in protest as we climbed. The lighthouse keeper's cottage came into view, weathered gray clapboards, shuttered windows. No vehicles visible. No sign of Ethan. Celeste slammed to a stop behind the cottage, using the structure for cover. Stay in the car until I clear the building. No. I grabbed my bag. We stick together. She didn't argue, just nodded toward the cottage's rear door. Stay behind me. We made it halfway across the open yard when the SUV roared around the corner. 2 men leaped out, weapons raised. Inside. Celeste shoved me toward the door while turning to fire at our pursuers. I stumbled through the unlocked door, Celeste right behind me. She slammed it shut, dragging a heavy table across as a barricade. Upstairs, she directed. The lighthouse will give us better. Her words cut off as the connecting door to the lighthouse swung open. Ethan stood in the doorway, a pistol held casually at his side. Hello, Valerie. His eyes flicked to Celeste. Agent Chen. Right on time. Sunlight streamed through the lighthouse windows, catching the golden gleam of Ethan's watch, the Patek Philippe I'd given him for our 10th anniversary. He looked immaculate as always, his suit unwrinkled despite the circumstances. Only the dark circles under his eyes betrayed any strain. Celeste shifted slightly, positioning herself between Ethan and me. Her weapon remained at her side, not raised but ready. Agent Chen, Ethan nodded with false cordiality. Or should I call you Celeste? We've gotten so familiar these past months. Where's Ramirez? She demanded. Alive last I checked. My associates are quite professional. His gaze shifted to me. You've had quite a morning, Val. Ready to come home now? Home. I nearly choked on the word. After last night? After everything I've discovered. You misunderstood the situation. His tone was reasonable, as if explaining a minor miscommunication. The toast was business. The bracelet was a necessary prop. I've been working under extreme pressure to keep this family safe. By making me the scapegoat? I stepped forward, anger overriding caution. I saw the documents, Ethan. My signature on transactions I never approved. A muscle twitched in his jaw, the only crack in his composure. You were never meant to find those. But I did. Just like I found the dinner reservation, the texts, the bracelet. Each betrayal fueled my courage. Just like I found out about Takeda. Outside, the men from the SUV were shouting, trying to coordinate their approach. We had minutes at most. Ethan sighed as if disappointed by a business setback. This could have been simple, Valerie. You disappear with the evidence, take some money, start a new life. Everyone wins. Except the people you've been laundering money for, Celeste interjected. They don't seem like the type to appreciate loose ends. Which is precisely why we need to resolve this quickly. He gestured with his free hand toward the lighthouse stairs. Takeda's men are outside. FBI and DEA are compromised. I'm offering you both a way out. And I'm supposed to trust you? I laughed bitterly. After you set me up to take the fall for your crimes? Not a fall. An escape hatch. His voice softened with practiced sincerity. I built it for both of us, Val. When things got too hot, we'd disappear together. New identities, new lives. Then why the separate plan for yourself? The offshore accounts I found. The property in Monaco. Each revelation had been another knife in my heart. His expression flickered, surprised that I'd discovered so much. Insurance. You taught me that, CFO. A crash from the front of the cottage, they were breaking in. Celeste tensed, her eyes never leaving Ethan's gun. Time's up, she said. Make your move, Foster. Ethan extended his hand to me. Val, please. We have a boat waiting at the base of the cliff. We can be international waters before they track us. 20 million in untraceable accounts. A fresh start. For a heartbeat I wavered. Not because I believed him but because I remembered when I had. When his smile had meant safety instead of danger. When his promises felt real. You want the evidence, I said, patting my bag. That's all this is about. I want my wife, he insisted. The evidence is secondary. Prove it. I stepped forward. Drop the gun. With Agent Chin armed? I don't think so. His eyes hardened. The evidence first, then we talk. And there it was, the truth behind the charm. He'd never choose me over his freedom. Never valued me above his own interest. I reached into my bag slowly, withdrawing not the USB drive but my closed fist. Here's what you want. He stepped forward eagerly, lowering his gun slightly to reach for what I offered. As his fingers touched mine, I opened my empty palm and simultaneously brought my knee up sharply between his legs. Ethan doubled over with a pained gasp. Celeste moved instantly, disarming him with practiced efficiency and shoving him against the wall. The great Ethan Foster, I said, straightening my shoulders. Brought down by the same arrogance that built him up. Heavy footsteps pounded up the cottage stairs. Celeste positioned herself at the doorway, weapon ready. You've ruined everything, Ethan hissed, his handsome face contorted with fury. They'll kill us all. No, I said calmly, pulling out the real phone Agent Mercer had given me, not the decoy Celeste had provided. They won't. I pressed the emergency button as the door burst open. But instead of Takeda's men, FBI agents in tactical gear poured in, led by a stern-faced woman I recognized from our previous meetings. Perfect timing, Mrs. Foster, Agent Mercer said, holstering her weapon as her team secured Ethan. Your signal led us right to you. You knew. Celeste looked at me with newfound respect. I suspected. I met her gaze. Trust no one, remember? So I trusted my instincts instead. As they led Ethan away, he turned back to me, his expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. How did you know about the lighthouse? About the boat? I smiled thinly. You forget, Ethan. I approved all the company's property acquisitions. Including this lighthouse, which you purchased through a shell company last year. I nodded toward the water. And I noticed the yacht that appeared offshore an hour ago. You always did love dramatic escapes. His face fell as he realized how completely I'd outplayed him. One last thing, I said, slipping my hand into his jacket pocket and retrieving a small velvet box, the twin to the one that had held Celeste's bracelet. I believe this was meant for me. Inside was an identical diamond bracelet, my would-be birthday gift, prepared for a celebration that never happened. I snapped the box closed and handed it to Agent Mercer. Evidence of intent to obstruct justice. He was planning to bribe me to destroy evidence. As they escorted him out, Ethan called back desperately, Valerie, please. 12 years of marriage has to count for something. I watched him go, feeling strangely light. It counted for everything, I said quietly. That's why this hurts so much. Agent Mercer approached with a satellite phone. Your testimony will be crucial in dismantling both operations. Are you ready to make a formal statement? I gazed out the lighthouse window at the vast ocean beyond, then back at the wreckage of my married life. The sun had fully risen now, painting the world in clear, unforgiving light. Yes, I said, feeling stronger with each passing moment. I'm ready for the truth to come out. My 35th birthday had begun with a betrayal and ended with a reckoning. But as I followed Agent Mercer down the lighthouse stairs, I realized it had also given me something unexpected. Freedom.